So we really don't know everything that's in there.
Layers of newspapers that had been folded and crammed inside.
It is very rare because there are not many pieces like this surviving.
There are some statues that have complete worlds stashed inside of them. From entire corpses stashed into Buddha statues to old relics present within freestanding sculptures, let's take a look at 8 strange things found in statues. Number 8. Mummified monk inside Buddha statue. A unique case occurred at Meander Medical Center in Amersfoort in early September 2014, when Dutch medical staff started working on a special case. This wasn't a routine investigation. The investigation staff displayed a gold-painted Buddha statue, which has maintained its mysterious contents for a millennium. The statue went on loan to the Drents Museum before people noticed its original manufacturing quality and historical age. Modern imaging technology enabled researchers to explore the inside of the statue, eventually revealing its hidden secrets. The statue had a higher value than what it originally had. It possessed the body of a mummified monk sitting in the lotus position. The scientific evaluation of this statue occurred in China for the very first time. The Buddhist art specialist Eric Bruine supervised the complete CT scan of the statue, in which professionals including radiologist Ben Hegelman and gastroenterologist Reinoud Vermeiden handled the DNA sampling and tissue extraction process. The goal for investigators was to determine both the contents and the identity of the enclosed remains. The examining data showed that the body within it wasn't in a traditional mummified state. The internal organs of the man were taken out and replaced by small scrap papers with ancient Chinese writing and unidentified decayed substances. The figure within the statue seems to be Lu Quan, who belonged to the Chinese meditation school and lived during the year 1100. A possible cause of his mummified state traces itself back to an ancient process of self-mummification. Multiple reports about such a practice can be found in Japan and various parts of China. Devout monks established a long, demanding process because they expected to enter a higher spiritual plane after reaching an immaculately preserved state through this path. The monks maintained a monotonous eating pattern, which included avoiding grains such as rice and wheat, so they relied on tree bark combinations and pine needles together with nuts. The prescribed diet depleted both fat and moisture, which act as decomposing agents. The monks used toxic tree sap for both an internal preservation effect to slow decay and protection against insects, which they would require even after death. Before his body reached complete starvation, he entered an enclosed tomb still alive. A passage from his existence occurred while the monk sat in the lotus position and took breaths from a bamboo tube while locked inside a dark tomb. Every day he sounded a bell as a sign that he remained alive for his followers. The funeral workers evacuated the air tube from the tomb after the bell stopped ringing before sealing the burial chamber. The scientists then opened the tomb after a span of 3 years. The success of monk mummification led to the removal of his body from the tomb to place it in a temple for worship and reverence. Buddhist doctrine teaches that monks preserved by mummification might enter a spiritual condition known as tukdam, which produces deep meditation stillness instead of being unalive. The process included high risks together with inconsistent results, but successful mummifications have been documented. A monk believed to be 200 years old was located in Mongolia, where his body had been successfully preserved while seated with animal hide wrapping him. Lu Quan is currently the only known case where a self-mummified monk has been discovered inside a Buddha statue. That fact alone has made his remains both scientifically and spiritually significant. After the scans in the Netherlands, the statue was displayed at the Hungarian Natural History Museum in Budapest. From there, he was scheduled to travel to Luxembourg for another exhibition in May of 2015. Each new destination brings fresh eyes to a mystery that had been hidden in plain sight for centuries. As researchers continue to study the materials found inside, and historians trace the statue's journey across time and continents, one thing is certain: this patient may have been quiet for a millennium, but his story is far from over. Today's world might render banknotes obsolete, but they were once even found inside statues. Number 7. Banknote found within Chinese sculpture. This one artifact held by Ray Tregaskis exceeded all the other ones he had with him. While analyzing a 14th century Buddha wood carving, Ray Tregaskis noticed something unusual when he discovered a crushed piece of paper hidden inside the sculpture's head statue. At first glance, the item appeared insignificant. The discovery inside the statue was an old banknote. As the Asian art department leader at Moss Green Auction House in Australia, Tregaskis has never encountered such an artifact. He carefully lifted the paper from the statue to discover it was actually a historic banknote from the Ming Dynasty. The bill had a place in historical records as a printed currency that emerged about 700 years ago. Buddhist statues contain hidden objects as an established custom. As part of traditional religious ceremonies, spiritual caretakers and monks made it standard practice to put significant items into Buddhist statues. Items concealed within these Buddhist statues included scriptures written by hand and grains, incense, and polished stones. History records show that wooden sculptures have never contained banknotes before this discovery. The note was a significant discovery because of its preserved state. The centuries of burial had curved the paper, yet translators did not only identify its date, but were also able to establish its contents. This item existed beyond being merely old, since it had become exceedingly scarce. The period when those banknotes circulated has already passed due to their rarity status. The discovery of such an artifact sealed within a religious statue established it as a unique category. During the Ming Dynasty, this note's documented official marks and timestamps revealed crucial information about when the sculpture was made or its contents were changed. The discovery confirmed the statue's age and its contents to researchers. Putting money within the sculpture could have religious motives. Different scholars theorize that the inserted money represented either a ritual symbolic gesture or served as a timestamp for when the artifact was made. There is a lack of sufficient evidence to confirm this. The discovery revolutionized the historical significance attached to this statue. Time had transformed the religious artwork from its original status into a historical time machine. Shortly after this discovery, the banknote and the sculpture were up for auction. The Rafi Star collection of important Asian art presented the piece to the market, attracting significant attention from potential buyers. The auction bidders saw past the superficial value of the artifact because they understood its significance, which protected its history and the cultural meaning it held. The combined final price of the auction statue and the banknote reached 48,032 Australian dollars, which translates to 35,806 American dollars. Among the possible contributors who placed the note inside this statue were monks, artisans, and donors, who let their notes remain inside the statue to have lasting effects. Years beyond their death, the original author never imagined a person would rediscover their century-old hidden message. There was no gold, no gemstone, no hidden chamber, just a fragile piece of paper that had outlived kingdoms crossed the ocean and rested in silence for centuries. And now, that silence has been broken. History has told us that Jesus came with a message, but this next item takes it up a notch. Number 6. Letters found within statue of Jesus. What started as a routine restoration turned into something else entirely when a team of historians lifted an 18th century statue off its base in northern Spain. The statue, a wooden depiction of Jesus Christ on the cross, had been part of the Church of St. Agata for over 200 years. It was beginning to show wear and tear and was demanding repairs, until something unexpected was found. Gemma Ramirez, a preservationist with Da Vinci Restauro in Spain, oversaw the project. Her team expected a straightforward process, but they noticed a strange sound when they moved the statue onto the work table. Something was inside. The team carefully opened a carved section that resembled draped fabric. In 2017, inside the hollowed-out area of the statue's lower half, they found a pair of old letters. Both were handwritten, faded with age, and dated to 1707. The letters were signed by Joaquin Minguez, a chaplain from the nearby cathedral of Burgo de Osma. As the team unrolled the fragile pages, they realized they were holding the history of village life, sealed away for centuries. Minguez wrote about the crops of the time: strong harvests of wheat, rye, oats, and barley. He spoke of wine stores and grain supplies, pointing to a prosperous season. However, his letters also mentioned diseases, in particular outbreaks of typhoid fever, that were affecting the area. There was more than just hardship in the writing. Minguez described local entertainment, including card games and sports involving balls. Beyond everyday life, the chaplain gave a snapshot of Spain's political climate. King Carlos III ruled, and the royal court was based in Madrid. Perhaps the most chilling detail briefly referenced the Spanish Inquisition, which was still active then. Minguez also credited the sculptor behind the statue, Manuel Ball, a known artist in the region who had created religious wooden works for other churches. This added another layer to the statue's story. According to historian Efren Arroyo, finding any document inside a church statue is extremely rare. The style and purpose of the letters made it clear. This was a time capsule. Minguez had intended his writings to be found one day by people far in the future. Once the restoration was complete, the team made a copy of the original letters. That copy was placed back inside the statue, just as they had found it. The originals were sent to the Archbishop of Burgos for preservation. The statue remains a symbol of devotion, but now it is more than 2 centuries old. With Romeo and Juliet being the personification of love, here's what was found within Juliet's statue. Number 5. Keys and love letters in Juliet's statue. In 2015, a team of Italian restorers working on a famous statue in Verona uncovered something unexpected. The statue, a bronze figure of Juliet from Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, had been damaged over time, mostly from thousands of visitors rubbing the same spot for luck. But the real surprise wasn't on the outside. As the statue was removed from the courtyard for repairs, specialists noticed something inside. Tourists had been secretly sliding love letters through tiny cracks in the bronze. Over time, the hollow interior had been filled with hundreds of paper notes and other small objects, turning the statue into a vault of hidden emotions. Not everything inside the statue was made of paper. Mixed in with the letters were tiny metal keys, reminders of another ritual. Many couples had left padlocks near the statue or around the courtyard, writing their names in permanent ink before tossing the keys. Some keys ended up inside Juliet herself, slipped into cracks worn down by years of touch. This practice isn't unique to Verona. It mirrors a tradition seen in cities like Paris and Rome, where love locks appear on bridges, gates, and statues. But Juliet's statue added a personal layer. Something about her story keeps drawing people in, turning fiction into something tangible. The original statue, cast in 1969, had become worn and fragile. The constant contact from visitors had opened seams in the bronze, tiny flaws through which notes and keys slipped. The statue was taken down for full restoration. Meanwhile, a replica was crafted to stand in its place. That replica, costing just over £16,000, was placed back in Juliet's courtyard just in time for Valentine's Day. The original now rests indoors at Juliet's house, protected from weather and further wear. Despite being fictional, Juliet's connection to the city brings in nearly 250,000 visitors every year. The courtyard has become a meeting point for the heartbroken, the hopeful, and the curious. All of them chasing something they cannot quite put a finger on. The custom of leaving messages at Juliet's house was highlighted in the 2010 movie Letters to Juliet. In the film, a young tourist discovers an old letter hidden behind a brick in the courtyard wall, leading her on a journey of love and self-discovery. That scene mirrors what happens in real life. Every year, hundreds of handwritten letters arrive in Verona from across the globe. Many are addressed only to Juliet's house. These letters speak of love lost, love found, and love waiting to be understood. Even as the statue was repaired and replaced, the tradition continued. Visitors still write. Some slip their letters into cracks in the courtyard walls. Others stand beneath the balcony, caught in a moment where fiction and feeling blur. Juliet's story may be make-believe, but the emotions she inspires are anything but. Also, have you ever wondered what you'll find within a golden lion? Number 4. Time capsule within golden lion. More than a decade ago, Boston officials were buzzing to find a time capsule that was more than 100 years old within a golden lion statue on Boston's Old State House. Perched atop one of Boston's oldest landmarks, a golden lion has guarded the city skyline for over 100 years. But hidden inside its head is something far more unexpected. It's a copper box sealed in 1901, long forgotten until a sculptor's descendant reminded historians it was even there. For over a century, the lion silently kept this secret until recent repairs offered the first real chance to take a closer look. Back in 2014, the lion statue was taken down from its home on the roof of the Old State House in downtown Boston. Using a fiber optic camera, a small team confirmed what had only existed in century-old newspaper clippings: a time capsule tucked inside the lion's head. Getting to it, however, is the hard part. The sculpture symbolizes Boston's history. Any misstep in opening it could cause irreversible damage. The idea of the time capsule wasn't just speculation. In February of 1901, the Boston Daily Globe published a piece noting that a copper box had been sealed inside the statue. According to the article, the box was filled with items of the time. This includes letters from city leaders, photos, campaign buttons from William McKinley and Theodore Roosevelt, and newspaper contributions. The work was done by a skilled coppersmith who sealed the box into the statue just before it was placed on the Old State House roof. And then, it was forgotten. The article faded into the archives, and the lion remained in place, unmoved, for more than a century. It was only when a relative of one of the original sculptors contacted the Bostonian Society that curiosity was sparked again. Once the statue was removed for cleaning, a fiber optic camera was guided into a small crack. The box, still in its spot, had waited quietly all along. This lion is not alone in guarding historical treasures. Time capsules are scattered all around the world. It is estimated that there are about 10,000 in total, but most have never been recovered. According to the International Time Capsule Society, roughly 9,000 have been lost, stolen, or forgotten. Even some high-profile capsules never made it to their opening day. One of the most famous examples involves a capsule intended to celebrate the United States bicentennial in July 1976. It contained over 22 million signatures from citizens across the country. But before President Gerald Ford could seal it, it vanished, likely to be never seen again. So, while this lion's box has been found, there is still a risk. With such a historic and delicate sculpture, the Bostonian Society is weighing all its options. The Old State House has stood since 1723 and played a key role during the American Revolution. The Declaration of Independence was read aloud from its east-facing balcony in July of 1776. These days, it draws visitors walking the Freedom Trail, who pass under the watchful eyes of the lion and its silver unicorn companion, symbols of the British monarchy that once ruled the region. Both statues were taken down earlier this month for restoration. With the lion on the ground, the Society turned to the public for input. Under the hashtag #LionAndUnicorn, people shared ideas for what should go inside the next time capsule. Suggestions included a Boston Strong armband, a styrofoam cup from Dunkin' Donuts, and even a One Direction album. Whatever they decide to place next, the old box still waits to be opened. A copper time machine sealed by hands that lived in a very different Boston, ready to speak for the first time in more than 100 years. We also have people keeping creepy stuff inside statues, just like this next statue on our list. Number 3. Human teeth inside Jesus statue. Centuries of retouching slowly buried the statue's original color until a recent restoration peeled back the layers. Beneath the modern paintwork, conservators uncovered the original green tones and deep reds that once marked the skin of Christ. It was a quiet but powerful rediscovery, showing just how much time and tradition had covered over what the artist first created. That was only the beginning. What came next was something no one expected. Researchers spotted something strange in the statue's mouth during a standard X-ray examination. Slightly visible behind the lips of the figure were 8 full adult teeth. Absolute real ones, complete from crown to root. Not replicas, not carved bone. These were genuine human teeth, still intact, still whole. Fanny Unikel, Mexico's National School of Conservation, Restoration and Museology specialist, confirmed the discovery. While it is common for religious sculptures to have teeth, she explained, they are typically made from wood or individually sculpted from bone. Finding full adult teeth, and all 8 of them, was something else entirely. The statue, the Lord of Patience, sits inside a small church in San Bartolo, Cuautlalpan. Around 30 miles north of Mexico City, the town's population hovers near 10,000. The statue has been a part of everyday life for as long as anyone can remember. While the identity of the person who created the figure remains unknown, the National Institute of Anthropology and History, or INAH, has placed its origin in the 18th century, during Mexico's colonial period, when it was still referred to as New Spain. At the time, the Catholic Church was deeply involved in shaping the region's culture and art. Unikel believes the teeth were most likely donated voluntarily. In past centuries, people gave personal items such as hair or clothing as church offerings. In this case, someone may have given their own teeth to get closer to the divine. It was a gesture of faith, a sacrifice with real permanence. Though he spends most of the year seated in the church, the Lord of Patience takes to the streets during Holy Week. Covered in garments and carried through the town by parishioners, the statue leads a parade of music, costumes, and celebrations. This practice is common across rural Mexico, where deeply venerated figures are often brought into the open during religious festivals. Unikel notes that the sculpture is always dressed and remains well preserved. Layers of clothing and careful upkeep have kept the figure intact for centuries. On the sculpture's base, restorers found multiple coats of paint, evidence of repeated attempts to present the figure with respect and care. The town's connection to the statue runs deep. Every repainting, every festival, every display of reverence adds to the story. And now, that story includes a very human detail: 8 adult teeth from an unknown donor, resting quietly in the mouth of a centuries-old Christ. The Lord of Patience has already returned to San Bartolo Cuautlalpan, to his familiar place inside the church. With the restoration complete, he resumes the same posture he's held for generations, seated, still, and watched over with devotion. But this time, people know the truth hidden behind his lips. Speaking of hidden truths, could scrolls hidden inside a statue point toward a bigger secret? Number 2. Scrolls discovered in antique Japanese statue. Tucked away in the ancient Japanese capital of Nara, the Hokage Temple had long been known for its rich Buddhist history and rare artifacts. Built during the 8th century, when Buddhism spread rapidly across Japan, the temple housed objects dating back hundreds of years. Among its many statues sat a modest 30-inch figure of a bodhisattva named Monju Bosatsu. It was known as yet another standard statue until it was the inside that started a fuss. A team from Nara National University had grown suspicious that something might be hidden within the statue. Using a computed tomography scanner, they examined the figure without causing damage. What they found stunned them. Inside the statuette were close to 180 hidden objects. About 150 of these, primarily scrolls, were packed into the body. Another 30 were discovered in the head. None of the temple's caretakers, not even the head priest, knew the figure was hollow. This led them to think that the hollow space might have something within it. The figure depicted Monju Bosatsu, a revered bodhisattva known for guiding people toward enlightenment. In Buddhist tradition, bodhisattvas are individuals who delay their own path to nirvana to help others find relief from suffering. Monju Bosatsu, often shown holding a sword and scrolls, is seen as a symbol of wisdom and truth. This particular statuette had stood at the temple for centuries, likely crafted over 700 years ago. The statue's modest height and peaceful appearance gave no hint of the treasure hidden inside. While the discovery might seem unusual, placing sacred items inside Buddhist statues was not rare in East Asia. In some cases, even mummified remains were placed within religious figures. It was part of a tradition that linked spiritual power to physical objects, turning each statue into more than just a visual icon. In this case, the challenge was not finding the hidden space, but deciding what to do about it. The computer tomography scan had confirmed the presence of the hoard, but there was no clear way to remove it without damaging the figure. Now the experts face a problem. They know the scrolls and objects are historically valuable. They also understand that damaging the statue would mean destroying a rare and sacred artifact. There is no easy solution. The items remain untouched, sealed inside the statue as they have been for centuries. Shigeki Iwata, a representative from Nara National University, confirmed that the discovery significantly raised the cultural value of the statuette. The figure, already admired by temple visitors, has become a significant point of interest. It has been on display at the Nara National Museum for a limited period. Whether the hidden contents will ever be removed remains uncertain. The process would require dismantling part of the statue, and even then, the age and fragility of the scrolls may make them unreadable. For now, the secrets inside the figure of Manju Bosatsu remain sealed. The temple continues to draw visitors eager to view the newly famous figurine. But how about gold inside gold? Number 1. Gold Buddha within statue. In Thailand, a group of monks began relocating a sacred temple in the early 1950s. Among the items to be moved was a large clay Buddha statue. Well, at least that's what everyone believed it was. As preparations began, the statue was far heavier than expected. When monks tried to lift it, the ropes gave way and it crashed to the ground. The fall cracked the statue's surface. From the split emerged a glint, something shiny, something that clearly wasn't clay. One monk took a closer look at the fracture. From within, a faint golden light was visible. What started as a logistical problem suddenly turned into something else entirely. Carefully, the monks used essential tools to chip away at the statue's outer shell. What they uncovered had been hidden for centuries. Inside the cracked clay exterior stood a solid gold Buddha. Not gold painted, not plated, entirely gold. The statue's true nature had remained a secret for hundreds of years, shielded by a cover of simple clay. Historians trace the mystery back to the mid-18th century. In 1767, Burmese forces invaded the region. As armies advanced, local monks are believed to have covered the golden Buddha with clay, disguising its value to keep it out of enemy hands. The tactic worked. When the Burmese reached the temple, they likely saw nothing but a plain figure. The monks who hid the treasure were likely killed, and the statue was left untouched. Decades turned into centuries. The monks who had hidden the statue were gone, and no records of the statue's golden core survived. By the time the temple moved locations in the 1950s, no one suspected the figure's true worth. What had once been a carefully hidden treasure had become just another relic, until it fell, and cracked, and revealed its glow. Once fully uncovered, the statue was measured and confirmed as the largest object in the world made entirely of gold. It weighed 5½ tons. Its height exceeded 3 meters. Though the material value is estimated to be 282 million pounds, many in Thailand and beyond see it as priceless. Today, the Golden Buddha resides in the Wat Tramit Temple in Bangkok. Pilgrims, tourists, and historians continue to visit, drawn not only by the statue's beauty, but also by its story. What makes this story powerful isn't just the gold or the size, it's the intent behind the clay. In a time of fear and destruction, monks hid what was sacred. Their decision preserved not only a statue, but a piece of cultural identity. For nearly 200 years, the disguise held, and when the gold finally resurfaced, it did more than shine. It reminded an entire nation of its roots. A simple fall brought the secret to light, but the actual weight of the statue came from what it stood for all along. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.